Hello, and welcome back to the Bitter BM podcast. I'm Felicia, your Bitter BM, and here I speak about all the things that made me bitter, but transformed me into the person I am today. So, the last time I posted, from what I recall, I spoke about Christmas and me turning 40. Well, what I didn't let y'all know was that I was in the midst of working myself into exhaustion, and here I am today. I've been away from work for the past 2 days. Thank goodness they did not call me, they let me rest. But yesterday I woke up, I was so tired. I was like, what's going on? I felt so limp. Everything on me felt heavy. I didn't have an appetite. And then I'm like, what does exhaustion feel like? I put that into Gemini, and it basically described everything I was feeling. And I'll just let y'all know. So over the holidays, a lot of people went on vacation in my workplace. I work in a healthcare facility. So, it's Christmas. Everyone wants to spend time with their family. I have older children. We don't really go out or spend like family time together with the rest of our families, unfortunately. But I decided that I was going to work. So I worked, I did a 7-day run of rotating shifts. I accepted an eighth day, but when I woke up on that eighth day, I was like, hell no, like I'm too tired. And then after that, I went back in on Wednesday, Christmas Day, or Christmas Eve, I should say, and I went through a 5-day run. Finished that off Sunday night, and here I am today. I've been home ever since. So all day yesterday, I couldn't do anything. I laid in bed. I must have fell asleep twice during the day, and then I fell asleep at night, and I woke up today feeling invigorated, and I'm like, oh my God, this is what I'm supposed to feel like. But it got me to thinking how turning 40, that I can't do the things I used to do when I was in my 30s, even when I was 39. I was such a gym girly for the past 5 years, up until I started school last January, and then everything just went downhill. I had to give up something, and that was my fitness and health. I put on a lot of weight. I actually went back to the gym in the summer because my mom called me fat, in not so many words, and I was a little bit offended. So I went to the gym, but I gained it all back when I returned last September. And in having to work those rotating shifts, I would say 13 out of 14 days consecutively rotating shifts, I lost 2 pounds. I lost a lot of water weight. I was extremely dehydrated. So for the past couple of days, I've just been like chugging water and, keeping myself hydrated. So I could get back to some normalcy in my life. Like, I know when I feel good. And yesterday I felt completely horrible. So this morning I woke up, I had some energy. I'm like, let me clean up my house, because don't be mad at me, but I did not clean my house. I cleaned my house before Christmas. But between Christmas and New Year's, I didn't do any cleaning. I didn't do any laundry. So I got up this morning and I decided to do that. But it's so interesting that, for certain people, when they hit a certain age, like, life just changes. And I think I heard somewhere that once you hit around 40, 42, then everything just starts to, add up. You start to feel all the aches a little bit more. And I'm absolutely not trying to, have my health go all the way downhill as soon as I hit 40. So I'm going to get back in the gym. I could show off a little muscle. I can't show y'all my back, but I do have a muscular physique. And in losing all the water weight and a little bit of body fat that I did over the Christmas holidays from working so much, I have less back fat and more muscular shoulders. So I have a pretty good canvas to go back into the gym, and I'm going to try to maintain it. So summer body, it's on between now and Cardi's concert in March. Yeah, I'm going to hit the gym consistently, and I'll show y'all the results. But back to what I was saying about turning 40. Like, I feel like now I could finally say my excuse for not wanting to do anything is I'm 40 now. Like, I don't want to. I'm 40 now. Like, I can't be, running up and down and working all these shifts and not getting any sleep. Child, I was so dependent on caffeine over the past 2 weeks. Like, it was ridiculous. I've never drank so much coffee in my life. And I felt it. I felt it every morning when I woke up, and I would finish work at 12, get home at around 1, sleep for maybe like 6 hours, and then I'd be back at work for another shift. And that was just the schedule. But it's interesting because although I'm now saying that, it was so harsh on my body, there's a reason why I do it. So one of my greatest fears is having my kids be financially responsible for me too early in their lives. So I'm 40 now, my kids are in their 20s, and I feel, or I believe, I shouldn't say I feel, I believe that parents should be absolutely responsible for themselves until they are sick, cannot work. They should be responsible for themselves. And one thing I do not want to become is a dependent on my kids to the point where I'm a burden on them and they're not able to live their lives fully into adulthood, because I feel like in my community that happens a lot. I know of people who I've been close to, people I've dated, close friends who from they were young, they had to help their parents to pay the bills. Like they had to work their little job during their teenage years, early adulthood, and help their parents pay the bills. And I feel that is so unfair, because if your kids are working to help you pay the bills, and I don't want to offend anyone, but it's just my personal opinion. If your kids are in their teens, early 20s, working to help you pay the bills, you are definitely setting them back into adulthood. I've seen on YouTube and elsewhere where parents actually take the money that their kids give them, they charge them rent, but what they're really doing is putting the money aside for them to either buy a car or buy a house or whatever it may be. They are not using the money to actually help support the household. And I 100% agree with that. What I do not agree with, though, is, having your kid go to work to help you pay the bills. I 100% believe that as a parent, it's your responsibility to support the household. If when your kids are maybe out of school, and this was the agreement I had with my kids. Early on, I told them, as long as you guys go to school, I'll pay everything else. And that's pretty much the agreement. I live with two adult kids, as old as my kids are. They've both worked. They don't pay any bills in my house. The reason they don't pay bills in my house is, one, I wanted to keep my promise. Two, I want them to develop financial literacy and then also become financially responsible for their own finances. So whatever they earn, they can spend. But if they don't earn it, they can't spend it, and they absolutely cannot save it. I made sure that they had accounts early. I introduced them. I'm not like a financial teacher or anything like that, but YouTube is a great teaching resource, and anything that I found that I thought could benefit them or teach them something, I've always transferred and shared that information with them. So in having them live with me as adults and still having to pay all the bills, I don't feel any way about it, because I feel like that's my responsibility. Like, it's more important for me to see them thriving, being able to complete their education without stressing like, oh, I got to go to work and I got to help my mom pay the bill because she doesn't have enough money, da 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 da. What they do is they pay their own bills. So their transportation, their phone bill, anything extra that they need for themselves, they pay out of their own pocket. I don't cover any of that. What I cover in my household is the rent and the internet and, food, like things that I'll make for dinner, because will eat dinner, but they'll have takeout and stuff like that, go out with their friends and eat. Those are separate bills that come out of their own pocket. I don't have to give my kids money for anything. And I think so far it's worked out pretty good. They know how to save. They are financially literate. And that's what I wanted. I didn't want my kids to grow up as adults always thinking that, one, they could spend and waste their money and they could come back to me because I was always going to be available. Even though I was always going to be available to help them out. Yes, that is and will always be the case, but you need to look to yourself. They need to look to themselves first and handle their own responsibilities. And I'm very proud of the fact that my kids are that way. I've raised them to be very independent, not independent where, there's this thing where, black families, or they say black women are raised to be so independent to the point where they don't need a man. My kids date, they have boyfriends and partners, and it's not that they're so independent, they don't need anybody or they don't want anybody. They know that at the end of the day, they should always be able to depend on themselves first. My kids are raised to be independent, and part of that has to do with the fact that having been in relationships where I didn't have the majority of the money, I saw how having less money sort of controlled my life. It's like I felt like obligated to, talk to this person or, whatever, because I needed the support. But once I got out of that and I started to make my own money, there was so much more freedom in like what I could do, what I could say, who I could actually give my time to. And it's not that I'm raising my children to not want to be with a partner or being in a relationship, but I want them to realize that it's important for them to be able to rely on themselves and whatever resources they have for themselves initially, until they are in a relationship where it becomes interdependent and they have to work with a partner, work on dreams, work on, building bigger goals and that type of stuff.